was good about the old days? Children having jobs and bubonic plague. That was good. Thankfully, big food are pushing for children to go back to work again. But we haven't got any plagues that mean we all have to be locked up in our... We're returning to the good old days! Hello there, you 6.4 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage to truth and freedom. Within you, there is a great light awakening. It is bringing us together. We have within us the resources and the power to deny the forces that want us to be kept down and kept dumb. One of the things I've noticed about the world is children lazing around, going to school, not contributing. Something must be done. Fortunately, big food are lobbying to have little tiny children back working hard where they belong.
The U.S. Labor Department says a McDonald's restaurant in Louisville, Kentucky employed two 10-year-old children who sometimes worked until 2 a.m. and they didn't get paid.
Good. No need to be paying these little nitwits. What's the point in having children working for you if it's going to cost you hand over fist? How are you meant to run a McDonald's without little tiny kids?
Child labor violations are increasing all over the country, and they oftentimes involve restaurants.
The department says Bauer Food LLC is the operator of the Louisville restaurant where those 10-year-olds were found working, sometimes until 2 a.m.
Imagine going into McDonald's at 2 a.m. Hello, could I have a Big Mac? Certainly, sir. Is there anything else? Can I supersize you? Why don't you supersize yourself, you tiny, weird little bastard?
Louisville-based Bell Restaurant Group was fined nearly $30,000 for allowing 14 and 15-year-olds to work more than the law permits, including during school hours.
And why were you not at school yesterday? We had a pretty big day over at the franchise. We had a lot of people coming in, big orders. How can I stay mad at you? And I'll have fries with that.
This is the moment customer Nathan Pitts pulled up to a window at the McDonald's in August. Pitts and his girlfriend say they were disgusted to find two children taking and making orders around midnight.
At midnight, at a drive-thru, you don't ever want to press that button. Can I take your order, please? No, because you're a little tiny child. Get to bed right now instead of giving me a window into a horrible Armageddon where our whole society is regressing and collapsing with observable signs like what's next? Cleaning chimneys?
Oh, it's awfully dark and gloomy up there.
Rickets? Rats? Where are we going with this?
In a statement, Bauer Foods LLC said, quote, "We are aware of the incident and can confirm the minors shown in the video are not employees of the restaurant. They are children of some of our employees." However, according to the Labor Department findings, the two children were employed and sometimes worked as late as 2 in the morning.
Hey, have you got children working at your restaurant at 2 a.m.? No, let us tell you the truth. Actually, we operate a scheme where children with leukemia are allowed to come in and have free milkshakes and fries and stuff like that. Oh, well, let me just check. Wait a minute, they are working there till 2 a.m. Oh, yeah, no, the leukemia stuff was a lie. Sorry about that. I just said what came to the top of my head.
Now, they found between the 62 restaurants, more than 300 children worked more than the legally permitted hours there.
They're doing it everywhere. It's not an isolated incident. How are they going to get out of that with lying? It's McDonald's. You can't just tell lies. No, we don't have any children. Well, who's that and that and that and that? They are a tribute band to the Beatles called the Baby Bugs, and they're just rehearsing in there. They didn't lie. Get them out of the restaurant.
300 children worked more than the legally permitted hours there.
How many kids have you got working at space? Well, look, I'll level with you. I'm only 9 myself, so I'm not that good at math yet. We haven't done calculus. I've actually risen through the regs quite quickly. I've got my own Wendy's over there. I'm gonna invest in a Burger King. Look, I really don't have time for this. I gotta take a nap.
And worked with equipment that they're not permitted to be around, like hot grills, ovens, and deep fryers with hot oil.
Dangerous culinary equipment, hot oil, deep fat fries, knives, all of the things that go on in there. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? That is a society in decline when cute little adorable babies are cooking up disgusting food that's gonna kill you anyway.
They got little kids working the drive-thru over here on McDonald's on Taylor Boulevard. You got a little, they ain't no older than 10 years old up in here, man. This is ridiculous. He got a little mullet. He can barely reach the window.
Baby girl, go on and get the manager.
I am the manager, as a matter of fact. Is there something I can help you with?
I'm telling the mom, yeah, we snitching.
I'm telling the mom. I figure, what do you do? It's such an unusual situation. We tell their parents, presumably they know already. Who do you tell? The state. Where is the moral authority in a situation like this? I'm going to tell, I think, God.
They are no older than 10 years old working the drive-thru with their little snotty nose hands.
McDonald's, so many ways they can kill you. Either it's the phthalates that are going to kill the entire species by making you infertile, the terrible saturated fat fats and dense sugars and seed oils that are bad for your health and causing heart disease, cancer and diabetes. And if neither of those two work, a little child might accidentally drop rat poison in your fries because they thought it was salt. Let's look at how big food lobbying and economics have led to this amusing yet terrible situation. Lobbyists in the restaurant industry are the driving force behind a proposed child labour bill to loosen child labour regulations across the country. One thing I have noticed about child labour regulations, that they're not tight enough because of those kids in McDonald's. No, they are too tight. We need more kids working harder for longer around more dangerous stuff. You're a genius. According to an investigation by More Perfect Union, the extremely powerful restaurant industry group, the National Restaurant Association, spearheaded the effort behind child labour expansion bill Senate File 167. Corporate lobbyists like the Koch family and the Iowa Restaurant Association have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars, while grocery company Hy-Vee, for instance, has donated over $800,000 over the past decade, while also being a prolific violator of child labour laws. The food and beverage industry spent nearly $28 million on lobbying in 2022. Lobbying is a scourge in American politics. It is an anti-democratic system that leads to bizarre anomalies like this one cropping up on the news. Whoa, 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 whoa! How come children are working in restaurants? Oh, we gave $28 million to the government. Last month, the Iowa Senate advanced a bill which would dismantle many child labour restrictions in that state, expand the types of jobs that minors can legally work, extend the maximum length of shifts, and allow businesses to employ them late at night. That all seems like a step in exactly the wrong direction. Aren't we worried about AI taking jobs? Aren't we worried about people not being able to ask for a competitive wage to do their work? Is the solution ever going to be, you know who should be working? Tiny, innocent, adorable, unreliable and inept little children. The bill was introduced on the grounds of modernising Iowa's child labour laws by taking them back to the past. Do you know what's modern? Go on. A little kid up a chimney, sweeping it, then dying because of all the soot in his lungs. I was thinking maybe more like Neuralink or something like that. Yeah, Neuralink's okay, but a little tiny kid biting a potato in the gutter? That's modern. That's not modern, is it? It's not a breakthrough. It's like, whoa, get this. This is so modern. A child in rags working its fingers to the bone in a fast food restaurant. Whoa, my mind's blown. Welcome to the future. This is like being in Tokyo. In fact, it is the thin end of a wedge of massive social regression. Well, capitalism is a powerful machine. Let's see if we can introduce a modest form of it to you now through this advertisement. And by God, I'll try and make it funny. So, you know Joe Biden's infrastructure bill that Congress passed last year? Of course you do. You're well informed. You watch our channel. Well, here's something I bet you didn't know about it. In a few years, every car might be required to come with a safety device that passively monitors you for impaired driving. I don't know about you, but I don't think the government needs to know what's happening in my car at all times. Why is it their business? Big government wants to control every part of your life and clamp down on your digital freedom. Did you know your internet provider keeps logs of your internet activity? When you use ExpressVPN, your internet activity is shielded. Unlike the kill switch the government wants to put in all of our cars, ExpressVPN's kill switch actually protects you. If your VPN connection ever drops, network data is immediately stopped from entering or leaving your device to keep your privacy from being compromised. And all it takes is one easy tap of a button for ExpressVPN to secure all your devices. I've arranged 3 months extra free if you use my special code. That's expressvpn.com/brand to get this special offer for you. The United States, the world's wealthiest country, never tires of lecturing others about democracy and human rights. Not only lecturing, bombing. But here, the barbaric practice of child labour, once thought to be consigned to the dustbin of history, at least in the advanced and industrialised countries, is back. In the 1800s, the capitalists justified the exploitation of child labour on the grounds that it would prevent the habitual idleness and degeneracy and teach habits of industry. Even in them days, they were on a massive blag. Do you know what we must do is prevent the habits of idleness and degeneracy? Go on, how? Making little tiny children do back-breaking work, lest they become idle or degenerate. Plus, an additive benefit is they will learn the habit of industry. Are you just exploiting these children? Sir, I will strike you with either my top hat, my gloves, or my cane. Today, virtually identical arguments are being made to justify the rollback of child labour laws. That's good experience, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds said. It's not a good experience to be burned in a deep fat fryer at 3 a.m. in a McDonald's with your mullet dips into hot fat fat and lashes you across the neck. Tell us some of your great experiences in life. Well, you know, back a couple of years ago when I was 6, I had the great experience of being burned by a deep fat fryer. I'll never forget it. It was like a gap year. You know, it teaches the kids a lot. Yeah, don't trust anyone and life is cruel and brutal and awful. And if they have the time to do it and they want to earn some additional money, I don't think we should discourage that. People must have to sort of reason with themselves how the mad shit they're doing and saying makes sense. Could we say that it's just somehow a good experience for the children and it's an opportunity to, like, you know, sort of like maybe when you're sort of lying, you've been caught cheating and say, wait a minute, maybe this is good for the marriage that I'm doing. This is blatant lie, isn't it? You can't ever make a moral argument for doing it. You should just say, we can do it because we've been given a load of money by the food industry and our morals are weak, invisible, insipid and barely developed. Like some of the workers in that McDonald's. According to the Economic Policy Institute, EPI, 10 states have considered bills to loosen child labour restrictions in the United States in the last 2 years. 8 bills have been introduced so far this year, including one bill in Minnesota, which would allow children to work at construction sites. I did one day working at a construction site when I was 16. It's so dangerous. Like, things happen with a plank, you've got to climb up scaffold, there's cement mix. Just the social and cultural environment was challenging. I didn't go back for the second day. Children should not be there. When I think of my little children, I don't think, you know what would benefit you guys? A couple of weeks on the sites. Get yourself some steel toe caps, some hard hats, and you're going to have to toughen up around language as well, kids. The number of minors involved in child labour law violations skyrocketed nearly 400%. That's the first thing that's actually modern, is that it was like a skyrocket, how quickly it ascended. Ooh, look at that skyrocket. What's on that skyrocket? Child labour law violations. Look at them going through the roof like a rocket. What's a rocket ship? Mind your own business and get back to that deep fat fryer, you little fuck. 400% between 2015 and 2022, although these children will never make that calculation because none of them have been in math class. This includes a number of high-profile scandals, including the employment of dozens of children as young as 12 in an Alabama auto parts plant and more than 100 children in dangerous jobs. Wisconsin meatpacking plant, like what Rocky did. Like, ow, ow, oh, my bones are barely grown. Hey, you're not supposed to be punching that meat. You're supposed to be dangerously packing it. Now get it on your fragile, as yet undeveloped bones, hunch it up on your shoulder, and get it into that freezer, you little prick. Sorry, Dad. Don't call me Dad at work. Investigators found that children used caustic cleaning materials. That means like there's acid in there that's really corrosive, and were cleaning dangerous, power-driven equipment like skull splitters and razor-sharp bone saws. Okay, time now for your orientation. Because you're new, you will primarily be working on the skull splitter and the razor-sharp bone saw. Oh, goody, that's exciting. Is it dangerous? No, as long as you don't get your fingers or your face. Oh, there goes the fingers and the face. Okay, can you get me some more kids? Up the lobby, money. Gonna need more kids. Actually, this isn't bad because we're gonna need something to supplement those sausages. Just put that whole kid in there. Children were employed working overnight shifts while enrolled in school. A lot of the kids cannot work day shifts because they are at school, like in any decent society. But what about nighttime? What, when they should be sleeping? They could be operating the razor-sharp bone saw during those hours. Why not? Let me put aside all my morals, common decency, and thousands of years of progress. Oh yeah, there's no reason. At least 3 children suffered burns from cleaning materials. According to court records, a 13-year-old youth suffered chemical burns working at the JBS plant in Grand Island, Nebraska. Welcome to Grand Island. What's that? That's a child being burned by cleaning materials. Court documents say the child also fell asleep in classes or missed school entirely. Jimmy, why are you asleep in my class? Sorry, sir, I was working hard at the meatpacking joint last night. Okay then, but why haven't you done your homework? I can't add up, because I don't got no fingers left, goddamn razor-sharp buzzsaw. You carry the 2, a minus 3. Oh, this is impossible. But at least the sausages taste better. And of course, US corporations make profits exploiting child labourers in sweatshops all over the world. In 2020, there are 160 million children worldwide, nearly 1 in 10, in child labour, nearly half of whom were employed in hazardous work, where there are hazards, according to the International Labour Organization. The percentage of children in the workforce, which has been on the decline, had stagnated since 2016, and the total number of child labourers increased by 8 million. So sort of in a way, we live in such refined margins of reality. Is this okay? Is that okay? Are we doing the right thing here? Could we improve that? Things are falling apart. It's 160 million children, 80 million of them in hazardous labour. We're moving backwards backwards into a different world. There's slavery, as we know, in the cobalt mines. We're telling ourselves a sort of lie about how the world is. Oh, it's progressing, it's not so bad, we're being more tolerant and more, more culturally sensitive, and those things are great. But when something like this is happening, it shows you actually that things are falling apart. We're in the middle of it, ignoring it. The EPI's report notes that the main consideration behind the drive to abolish child labour laws is the reversal of the sharp decline in the labour force participation rate for 16 to 24-year-olds, which fell by more than 10 percentage points since the start of the century. All right, so going to university, getting into student debt. Well, how are we going to fill the gap? Babies? Shall I say babies now? Is it wrong? I feel like I'm going to say babies. It's babies. More youth must be driven into low-wage jobs to counteract a tightening job market, which has led to modest pay increases. What the fuck are we going to do about these modest pay increases? I don't know. Would it be an overreaction to have tiny little children operating skull splitters and deep fat fryers? It would be an overreaction, and it is the reaction that we're gonna have. More troubling, it has encouraged a greater mood of defiance among workers who are pushing for strike action in one industry after another. How do we break this newly emboldened workforce where people feel that they have the right to ask for reasonable wages? I don't know, chop off their kids' fingers? Whoa, that seems a little bit intense. Well, what if that happened as a result of a work accident? 2 birds, 1 stone. While the campaign to abolish child labour laws is being spearheaded by Republicans, it is of a piece with the economic policy of the Biden administration and the Federal Reserve, who are using interest rate hikes to trigger mass unemployment and drive down wages. A basic litmus test for whether a society is moving forward or backward is its treatment of the most vulnerable, including the youth. What emerges in the US, therefore, is a picture of a country moving rapidly in reverse, driven by a deep and intractable economic, political and social crisis. As a matter of fact, the ruling class has been systematically attacking the living standards of workers for nearly half a century. But one gets a sense that particularly in the last few years, conditioned by the massive crisis unleashed by the pandemic, a certain inflection point has been reached. The right of children to a childhood, a social achievement won only through bitter struggle, along with every social gain made over the course of more than a century, is now being junked. Meanwhile, corporate profits are their highest on record, and trillions of dollars are made instantly available to the banks whenever their speculative ventures threaten to collapse on them. The hikes in interest rates, in addition to driving up unemployment, have also produced record profits for large banks like JP Chase, which made over $50 billion in its last fiscal quarter. It's a pretty ugly picture emerging of the global political landscape and how the interests of poor people are at odds with the economic systems that are being favoured through the current administration. Youth have no future under capitalism. And I know some of you will query the use of the word capitalism there, but I suppose what the writer of this piece means is capitalism as it currently is functioning. And it's difficult to query that, isn't it? Let me know in the chat or comments if you agree. The continued existence of this form of society is predicated upon the cannibalizing of all the social and cultural achievements of the past. In the sense of technical and scientific developments, humanity long ago created the means to eliminate poverty, war, pandemics, environmental destruction, and every other social problem. That all of these are re-emerging today with a vengeance is for one reason only: the capitalist profit system. It's difficult to argue that the reason we are seeing these symptoms, in some cases symptoms that we thought were consigned to the past, is because the machine of global economics has metastasized into something vampiric and cannibalistic, devouring and discarding its young. Remember our recent conversation with Glenn Greenwald over on Rumble, where Glenn pointed out that in the past the plutocratic class were willing to make endless gestures to palliate ordinary people, almost literally throwing dollar bills out the back of limos. Greenwald speculated that now it seems they've reached the point where through militarized police, the ability to surveil and censor, through new anti-protest laws, it's possible to just crush opposition. You know that dissenters are censored, smeared, shut down. So the possibility of a counter movement to this machine that is devouring not only our kind but our morality and our principles is being reduced day by day the more that these globalist systems become entrenched and legislated for. What is obviously required is some coordinated movement against it that is decentralized, localized, self-governing, autonomous and free, but is united enough to stand up against an incredible enemy. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments below? Please turn on the notification bell and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this video. Have a look at either of these. As well as all of that, please stay free.